Deliveries fill up quickly this time of year. If you can give us about a 2-day notice, that'll ensure that you can get the products you're looking for delivered right to your house. So you don't even have to come in. We can take care of it over the phone.
And that's Bell Landscape Supply. How do we find you?
Well, we're located at 2410 Northside Drive. That is the famous frontage road here in Statesville that runs along I-40 in between Highway 6490 and 115. Look on our website. It's belllandscapesupply.com. Our Facebook page is constantly updated thanks to Bethany there. You'll see all kinds of new products and tips for your lawn. And if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, give us a call. It's 704-253-7010. That's 704-253-7010.
Real Country 550 and 92.9 WAME Statesville. Real Country.
Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm.
If you don't know our host, David Hamm, he's a 25-year NASCAR veteran, engine builder, and jackman.
Live every Monday evening, we have a new guest
From the racing world with their stories, their paths,
Their
racing roots.
sponsored by Jersey Cape Yachts.
Now here's our host, David Hamm.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm right here on 550 AM and 92.9 FM. And here we are, down to the wire. We got everything dialed in, ready to go. And hopefully you're joining us on YouTube. We got a studio full of good friends. And Andy. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's good to see you again, man. I feel like I've been having your whole family in here pretty much.
Yeah, it's been fun, and I come a few months back with my dad, and it was good to hear his stories. And then my brother was on a couple weeks ago, and so now myself and my son Clark is going to be on.
That's right. I'm excited to meet Clark.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks for coming. He when I first met him, I was like, now when I did the pictures, the thumbnail, I put it together and I was like, I hope that's not Andy, but it looks like that's a more recent picture because you're obviously younger, but y'all look so much alike.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get that quite a bit.
Yeah, and that's a compliment, right? I guess. I'm just kidding. Well, I did send Marty the link, so he was like, awesome. He's excited. So.
Well, when Marty was on, I kept sending questions to you to ask Marty, stuff that we had been through in the past. So I think he's been working on his list today. So he's liable to be texting you or something,
Yeah.
So.
It's like payback time, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make sure I got my phone turned on to where I can hear it. So yeah, our buddy Mike Nieder's in. He's the guy that owns the McDonald's here in Iredell County. So he's tuned in.
Okay, great.
And I'm pretty sure he probably saw your picture with the McDonald's fire seat on as well.
Right, yeah. We could put McDonald's on a race car again if he wants to.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be perfect.
That's a good idea because Clark needs
That's right. Yeah.
another one too. Yes, because but you got is it Mountain Alpine?
Yeah, Alps Mountain Affordable Hearing. Jeff Klein, he's got a couple locations here in Hickory and in the mountains and on the coast. So he helps us out quite a bit and helps us get to the racetrack.
That's a nice looking truck.
Yeah, it is. Duck Graphics, they also helped me out quite a bit. Dale Duckworth designed it, and Jeff Klein put some input in, and it turned out really good.
Good deal. We were talking about Duckworth, and I said that duck. I remember seeing that on signs down at Carolina Speedway. But does he have anything to do with Duckworth in Mooresville?
No,
Probably not.
Different Duckworths.
Okay. Different family there. All right. So, yes, I got Clark in with me and Andy Houston, and Clark is the grandson of Tommy Houston, and you're wearing a Tommy Houston shirt tonight. Very cool. And
yeah,
then
we'll throw back there.
Yeah, and then Andy's the younger son.
That's right. I got two older brothers, Scott and Marty. And, Marty and myself both raced. And Scott, he crew chiefed my dad for a lot of years. And we've all been involved in racing our whole lives.
Mm-hmm. So what is Scott up to now?
Well, it changes kind of like the weather. But the last I checked, he was buying and selling some real estate. And he's bought and sold cars, and he does a little bit of this, a little bit of that. He's in him and his wife live in Florida, and
tough life.
Yeah, he's got a tough life, right?
Yes, that's it. We got some friends that listen on here. They're down in Florida. Paul Rodriguez and Kit Rodriguez are down in Port St. Lucie.
Okay.
And then Scott Trevison, the beer man, the Coors beer man, and Jana are down in Daytona area.
Okay. They're in St. Augustine area.
They are in, further south. They're in, is it not Ponce Inlet. I always want to say that. DeLeon Springs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So where does Scott live?
He's in St. Augustine.
Oh, he's in St. Augustine.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we went there last year. We went around and I was looking for the Fountain of Youth.
Oh, okay.
So
Did you find it?
I found several of them, but the water didn't impress me very much.
Okay, I got you.
It tasted like it was like sulfury tasting.
That's what they say.
Yeah. Phil, you ever had the water down there?
No, I've never been to the Fountain of Youth. Can't you tell? Look at me.
I know. Look at you.
You know,
Tracy's been there.
a funny story. The neighborhood that we live in is called Catawba Springs, and back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, that was one of those springs that people come from all around. And the neighborhood before it was built had a hotel and like a bandstand, and people would come for the summer, and they would go and get in the spring. And the actual railing and stuff for the spring is still there in the neighborhood. There's a book on it. It's really kind of neat, you know. So
Catawba Springs.
That's neat. And there's down in the one of the springs we went to, that wasn't one in St. Augustine. It was actually had the well where they originally, and they said that was the one. That was it.
Oh, okay.
And then you get a little sample of the water. And but no.
what's working on? You're looking good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I brought some home with me. You know, take a sip on it every evening. So, all right. So we're here to listen to your stories, your path, your racing roots. So we kind of went through this with Andy, but we had Tommy in here at the same time. So it's kind of like now you get to have your chance at the spotlight, I guess you could say, and as well as Clark. So we got like double duty tonight, which is great.
Yeah, it works out.
Yeah. So let me see. Get this camera angled up a little bit. There we go. Got both of you in. And so if y'all are listening on the radio, if y'all want to go and see us here live in the Randy Marion studio, you can go to DHammiam on YouTube and tune in that way. And you can see Andy and Clark in here with us. All right, so obviously you were Tommy's son, and so like you said, you had two other brothers, but I've seen pictures of you at the racetrack when you were just a little kid.
Oh yeah, I mean, as far as I can remember, we were at the racetrack, and we grew up going to Hickory and New Asheville Speedway up in Asheville, North Carolina, and you know, other places around South Boston, Virginia. I mean, we traveled mainly on the East Coast and mainly within a few hours away. But, you know, that's all we ever did. And that's all I ever remember doing growing up. And Clark, he gets jealous because he says, man, I just wish I could have grew up in that era when you guys got to travel. And it was. I mean, I cherish a lot of those memories as a child. And anybody asked me from the age of 4 or 5 years old to I graduated high school, they said, what do you want to do, you know, when you get out of school or when you grow up? And it was always, I want to drive race cars. I mean, that was all I knew, and that's all I wanted to do. So
and back then, when your dad traveled, that was in the era of the custom van.
Oh yeah.
Know,
we wore
had the
out. We
tricked
completely wore out at least 3 custom vans.
Yeah.
And that is not any exaggeration at all.
Sure.
We had, you know, I remember the very first one. Before the custom vans, we had like a what we called a hippie type van. You know, it was just a panel van that didn't have any windows in it, and that was in the, I must say, late 70s.
Yeah.
We had it for a few years, and then we got like a full-on custom van with
early 80s
with like
with
the
velour
captain's
seats
chairs and the fold-out bed.
Turn around. Yeah, lighting.
The first one we got didn't have the raised top on it, but it was still way cool. And my mom and dad wore that van out, and then we got a new comfort coach van.
You elaborate on they wore the van out. They stayed in it on the weekend, right?
No, they wore the engine and the drivetrain out, driving this thing from wherever we went.
Clarifying.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a race going on here.
That's right.
All right, well, Tracy, we might have to turn the air back on. It's hot. Is it hot in here?
It is warm, yeah.
That's that comment.
Yeah, that too. Things just got hotter in here. We can only take off so much clothes, I guess you could say.
It was just you and Marty back then, right? Or just 2 of you? Didn't have any brothers or sisters?
Scott, my older brother, Scott.
Sorry, okay.
But Scott,
three, yeah.
You know, Scott was always, he's 6 years older than myself, and Scott was always either driving the hauler or riding in the hauler, or you know, he crew chief for my dad for a lot of years, even at a young age. I mean, I'm talking 17, 18 years old, and he was calling the shots on, well, I say he was calling the shots. Him and my dad was calling the shots, telling Scott what to do, and Scott was
understand the lingo.
Yeah, he was making sure.
Yeah,
he was making sure it was getting done. Yeah. So Marty and I were a little younger, and you know, we rode in a van, and I always kind of cling to my mom and dad a lot, growing up, and even times when Marty and Scott, or at least Marty, didn't go to the races, I would still be right there, want to go to all the races and do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right, so then how was it for you, Clark, growing up in a racing family?
Yeah, my earliest memory of being at the racetrack was I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and I think Dad was working, correct me if I'm wrong, at PPC, and he was going to drive a super late model for him, and he was down at Hickory testing. I remember being 6 years old and just being down there with him that day they were testing, and it was just taking it all in, and pretty much from then on I was hooked. And then I got a dirt bike when I was, that same year, I think, and I thought I wanted to race dirt bikes for a little bit.
That was scary.
I'm sure.
We did. We went to a couple events, and it was like, we got to get him off this dirt bike, or he's going to die. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to die because Lori's going to kill me. One of the two things is going to happen. So.
Yeah.
And then I was about 10 years old, and Dad come home with a go-kart one day. Austin Dillon had come across a bunch of go-karts or something like that, and Dad got a hold of one of them and brought it home, and we started working on it and went racing there handful of times, and from then on it just kind of snowballed.
Yeah, because your dad works up there, right?
Well, he
did.
used to.
Yeah, I work for Stuart Haas now.
That's right.
Yeah,
at the
right.
time, yeah, that's where Marty's working up there.
Yeah, Marty's
now.
at RCR. Right.
Yeah, and then you actually y'all wrecked out yesterday, didn't you?
We did. Yeah, man. Cole,
three to go?
I spot for Cole Custer, and Cole ran so good all night. I mean, we ran top 8 or 10, the biggest part of the night, and we had ourselves in contention there at the end, and they got to blocking and banking off each other, and we just got caught up in it, and it kind of ruined a good night. But man, I enjoy spotting for him. He's a good kid, good talent, and we'll shake the monkey off our back and get things turned around for sure.
Yeah, sure. He does have a lot of talent. I know whenever I was building engines for him, he come in the shop, him and his dad.
Uh-huh.
And so my question to him was, are you kin to General George Armstrong Custer? So.
What was his reply to that?
He said, I don't know. He said, I could be, but I don't know of it. So, yes, we all know how that went down. So,
right.
Anyway, so, all right. So you're growing up but you started out in motorcycle. Well, that's kind of where you built up your nerve, probably, to
it was just
bravery and.
Yeah, it was just something with a motor and wheels, and that was enough for me. And going into go-karts, it was. It was just something else kind of like that, but I could relate more to my dad, my grandpa, and my uncle by doing it, and
The very first night he raced a go-kart, or it was afternoon, actually. It was a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
We went to Woodleaf, and you were, how old were you, 8 or 9, maybe, something. He was little. And he'd go out on the racetrack, and he would make like 3/4 of a lap, and he would spin out. And we'd come in and we would work on it, and he would go back out and he would make like 3/4 of a lap, maybe a whole lap, and then he would spin out. And it was like,
oh yes,
he spun out. How many times did you spin out?
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, Clark, I was like, you may have to slow down just a little bit to, you may have to just get the feel. And the cart wasn't right by any means, but it was like, and he got so frustrated. I remember he was crying and he had red dirt on him, and the dirt was run down. He's like, I just don't know if I'm gonna be able to do something. I'm like, you will figure it out, and then the next time we went, it got a little better, and then next thing you know, you're winning and run up front. So.
There you go. I raced out there, and it's just kind of like a big circle. Feels like you're just going around.
Yeah.
And I had the wrong gear, so I was like, a couple laps, and I was getting laughed. Whatever.
Clark ended up out in the corn. You get out in the cornfield, but there's no walls on the backstretch, so you get out in the cornfield, or is it soybean?
It's bean field. Yeah.
Soybeans. Yeah, he knows. I thought it was corn. It was beans.
No, it's beans out there. Yeah, saw it firsthand.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my God. All right, so I'm gonna have to go turn the air on.
Are you really?
Yeah, it's hot. It really is. I'll get it. So anyway, all right. So then you got into go-karts, and then where did you go from there?
So we ran the flat cart style cart for a little bit, and then about the time I was 12 or 13, we built our own outlaw cart or box stock. It was basically still a go-kart, but it had a wing, kind of looked like a sprint car. No suspension or anything like that on it. And then we run that for 3 or 4 years and won the championship in that. And then we built a bigger version of that, the Open, and I ran that pretty much all through high school, middle school and high school, and did that until I got into the super trucks with Ashley and Dwight Huffman Racing.
So what he was talking about on the box stock and what they call a winged outlaw cart, they race those over at Millbridge Speedway in Salisbury, and we raced there for a lot of years. The dilemma that we had racing go-karts was all the go-kart races were on the weekends, and I was always gone on the weekends because I was always spotting. So our go-kart career kind of consisted of November to January. I mean, we raced in the wintertime. Anytime there was a big go-kart race in the wintertime, we would go to it. And then we knew some guys that were racing at Millbridge. Carson Elledge was one of them, who's good friends with Clark, and some other people. And we ended up, Phil Gould ended up, I actually worked with him, and his kid raced out there, and we built a cart to race out there. So we raced on Wednesday nights for, I don't know how long.
From the time I was probably 13 to 17.
Yeah,
raced out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I probably heard you because I lived right through the woods.
Okay.
And so I could always hear them out there on Wednesday nights and on Saturdays. And I raced out there several times. I got 3 trophies, but
Okay.
There you go.
I built my own engines.
Yeah.
So, and I told them it's not legal, so you just whatever. So they started.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
that's
I'm
it.
gonna have fun if you have to throw me out, or I'm not taking my engine apart.
You were
right.
the Marty Robbins.
Yeah, I was Marty Robbins at the race. That's it. Well, the good thing is I had all my neighbors were racing with me too. We all come together, and so I built engines for them too. I just built mine a little bit better.
There you go.
So, of course,
Yeah.
you know, but that was a good track. I like it out there.
Yeah, it is. And Ashley and Jeremy Burnett, who own the place now, they've done a magnificent job with that place. If you've got kids and they want to race, that's a place to go. I mean, they do a really good job. They try to get out of there at a decent hour. They actually race on Wednesday nights and I think Saturday nights. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday night. So they race like 3 nights a week.
Mm-hmm. I know that's where Carson Elledge, as you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
she got her start there, and she was really good, winning a lot of races. And also, I don't know what Kyle Busch's son's name is, but he's out there racing.
Brexton. Yeah, he runs out there now. Yeah, a lot of the NASCAR community people are out there. As a matter of fact, Clark, when the first night he run, I think you had to run against Max McLaughlin. And
Yeah, I run second to Max McLaughlin the first night we run out there.
yeah, so there's been a lot of racing people that
Never heard of him.
you just want to
We
get
were
him on
trying
here,
to get
right?
Max from my hometown,
right.
well, his dad, to come on the show, and
Yeah.
he doesn't.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
being that way. So,
You know, Clark, right?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
so what is it? Just
Go Matt Shepard.
there you go. You know, ask somebody a couple times, and if they're just like, then you say, all right, we're not
Yeah,
asking
right,
again.
exactly. Yeah. There's more people out there, right?
Yeah, there sure
Oh,
is.
as a matter of fact, the night we had your dad on, I sent Mike a text saying, "Tell Max that we didn't have room for him tonight because we have the legendary Tommy Houston here tonight." And then I'm like,
right.
"Here tonight, and you're not."
Right.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
All right, so then how'd you get your start in? What was your next level?
Yeah, so after running the opens at Millbridge, we got hooked up. Well, Dad got hooked up with Ashley Huffman. I'm not too sure how all that came about. I think they might have got together at was it the Hickory Speedway reunion?
Yeah, actually, Doug Hauser. I talked to Doug Hauser, who used to help my brother Marty at the Hickory Speedway reunion, and Doug's like, I had been talking to him before, and is like, we're ready to do something different. You know, we're ready to move on. And he said, well, you need to talk to Ashley. He's got this truck, and we had been to a few of the Southeast Super Truck Series races in the past, and knew that the series was kind of a neat deal, and they traveled to 4 or 5 different racetracks, and so I got hooked up with Ashley, and he's like, yeah, let's take him to test. And Clark can kind of fill you in on the rest.
Yeah, so pretty much all I got from that was Dad called me one day and said, hey, Ashley Huffman's got this truck, and we're going to go test it. I didn't really know all the ins and outs of it. But, well, we went one day, and it was a cold, I think.
It was raining.
Yeah, it was kind of raining, and we went and tested.
This is asphalt. This is not dirt. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went and tested, and I made about half a lap and stomped the gas pedal and smacked a wall with the left front.
Oh.
I thought I probably wasn't ever going to be a race car driver.
Yeah,
And
that happens.
we got it fixed. It bent the spindle, and we Casper Clocko, he's my crew chief now. He's really sharp and works hard, and he got it fixed and got me back on the track, and I was out there. It ended up it wasn't raining to begin with, and then it started raining as I was making laps, and we ended up turning some pretty good laps, and went back that next week, or it might have been a week later, and I run my first ever full body stock car race, the Southeast Super Trucks, and I ended up running third, and it was a pretty stout field. I think it was a 15 car field, something like that.
Selling outside pole.
Yeah, selling outside pole to Ralph Carnes, and it was really a good night, and it really helped build my confidence. And from there on, it's just kind of history. Yeah. Kind of where I'm at now. So
there you go. And now you're winning races.
Yeah. I think we've won 6 now. Six or seven. Yeah. So it's been going really good in the championship hunt this year. Leading points by about 5 points. So
that's the Southeast Super Truck. Series.
Yep. Touring series. We go to Anderson, Tri-County. Where else we go? Kingsport, Tennessee. There's a handful of tracks we go to.
He just won the other night at Wake County Speedway, which is down in Raleigh.
Yep.
Yep. Very good. Congratulations on that.
I appreciate it.
And you just keep doing what you're doing, apparently. So I guess your biggest influence probably was who? Getting into
probably all three. My dad, my Uncle Marty, and my grandpa. Really they all come to. Marty comes to most of my races, and Dad and Pop, my grandpa, they come to. They're there at every one. So they're always filling me in on what I need to do and how I need to drive these different tracks, and they've been a really big influence to me.
That's cool. I saw that picture with your grandfather in there in Victory Lane.
Oh yeah. I'm
sure he's very proud. That's pretty cool. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back to Racing Roots with Hamm. We've got Andy and Clark Houston in here with us, so we'll be right back.
Up in the morning.
Carpet Care.
And we're back on Racing Roots with Hamm right here on 550 AM and 92.9 FM, WAME radio, that is, and on DHammiam on YouTube. So if you'd like to see us here live in the Randy Marion studio, go to DHammiam. That's ham with 2 M's, of course, IAM. Like Sam I am. I do not eat green eggs and ham, even though I eat anything. Have you seen me lately? So anyway. Oh, yeah, you know, that's right. Okay, here we go. All right, so Clark brought me this nice decal. And where can people get a hold of these if they wanted to? Do you have a place yet?
Well, I've got all those right now. They can come see me at any of the Southeast Super Truck races. I'd be more than happy to give them one for free.
There you go.
But if you need anything done like that or any T-shirts made, Duck Graphics in Hildebrand, North Carolina, is the place to go, and they'll hook you up and they'll print you some good-looking shirts.
Come on over and stand between them right here.
Yeah.
Derek's got one on.
That's a sharp.
Come on over this way, Derek.
Clark's actually got a vintage one
I've got
on.
a very vintage Duck Graphics
Duck
t-shirt
Graphics
as
been
well.
in business for a lot of years.
Yeah.
I actually worked there as a teenager.
All right.
Well, or close to my teenage years, and then Clark, he worked there as well. So.
Oh yeah, very good. Yeah, and I guess Derek, I don't know if I mentioned that you were in here with us, but you've been on camera all the time as well. You're usually kind of like one of those behind the scenes kind of guys, anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm just one of those avid fans, if you will.
There you go.
That I was growing up watching these guys
Yeah.
race because we went to school kind of at the same time, and so yeah, we didn't know, Andy. We didn't know. You may have, but I didn't know how lucky we were growing up around Hickory Speedway. And almost every Saturday night, and Clark, I know when what you're saying about you would have liked to have been there, because almost every Saturday night we had Tommy Houston, we had Harry Gant, we had Jack Ingram, we had Sam Ard, Tommy Ellis, Pete Silva, Bosco Lowe. It was a who's who.
Bob Presley,
Morgan Shepherd. It was a who's who of late model racers at that time, and they were there almost every Saturday night. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. It was time. The thing about it is, and Derek and his wife Michelle, they're really good friends of ours, and we spend a lot of time together. And they travel and watch Clark race some, whenever they can. And getting back to that though, times were different. People back in those days, in the 80s, 90s, even up to the 2000s, they wanted a place to go. They wanted on the weekends. I mean, they needed somewhere to go. Well, now you have social media and you've got all this technology, and you can sit at home and watch. I can sit at home and watch his Southeast Super Truck Series races, on a feed, but. It was different times then, and you would have Busch races at Hickory or big late model races, and the places would be completely packed. But I think sporting events in general are suffering because of technology, and you can sit at home and watch it there,
Yeah, and have really cool camera angles.
Yeah, for sure.
And you don't even miss a wreck.
Right.
Have a wreck, they got cameras
and they got a
everywhere.
replay.
Yes,
Versus
replays.
what, the 70s, mid-70s, when you would sit there Saturday afternoon and an hour-and-a-half show on ABC's Wide World of Sports, you'd get 37 seconds of the cars going down the back streets at Daytona.
Yeah, maybe 3 cameras or something,
I think there was a 43 in there.
That's right. Yeah, so I know whenever I was going to the track, the stands were packed full at all these, and I was there from 95 to 2001.
Right.
Which I know you raced somewhere just outside of that, I guess.
No, that was the era. I mean,
96, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I ran Cup in 2001 in the McDonald's car, and my career kind of started in the early 90s, racing late models at Hickory, and was fortunate enough to win the championship at Hickory in '94. And then about the 97 mark, we started going NASCAR truck racing, Craftsman truck racing at the time is what it was called. And, we won several races there, and then got the opportunity to go Cup racing with Cal Wells. And it's kind of like, if you looked at a graph, it's like the graph's going this way, and then after the Cup deal, it kind of levels off, and then pretty quickly after that, it starts going the wrong way. You know what I mean? And I realized that I was chasing something that was going to be hard to, there was a couple of decisions I made that was going to be hard to recover from, and I just, I got tired of every single year wondering what your next move was going to be, and I got the opportunity to start spotting for PPC, Keith Barnwell, who's actually a good friend of the family's and still spots to this day. He spots for at Spire Motorsports where Clark works for Justin Haley. But anyway, Keith had called me, and he was at PPC and asked me if I would be interested in taking a job there as a spotter and a little bit of a coach to some guys. And that was in 2005, I guess. And from that point on, that's what I've been doing, you know. And I don't regret it. I mean, I've had great jobs. I've had, you know, a good career of spotting with several really, really good drivers and had some success there. So it's just another chapter of things you do.
Yeah. And that's about the time Marty stopped was, I don't know, his last year, 2001 or 2.
Yeah, and I think
like
I might have sent a message in whenever he was on, and it's like I kind of followed Marty's lead a little bit. He left, or you know, he kind of decided that he was gonna. We raced. I mean, that's what we did. We grew up racing. We've been around racing. It's like we're not really gonna do anything else. That's what we're gonna do, and that's what we want to do. And even if it's not in the capacity of driving, which I still feel like Marty and myself both could have been really, really successful if we had been given the right opportunities or made the right moves. And there's 100 guys out there that are the same way. You know, if just given the right circumstances, they could make it happen. But sometimes it don't work that way.
Right. I know I was mentioning to Marty, I was this Jack Man in 2001, and then, you know, things were starting to go down, and he's like, you know, talking about the other drivers kind of circling around. Like
it's a shark pool.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
At the same time, that's kind of when the sport started to revolutionize and peak out on, you know, it built up all that momentum in the late 80s and 90s, and we were at the height of it around 2000 and on, and then a few of the dynamics about ownership, you know, that $3 million didn't carry you anymore a year.
Right.
Now it was $50 million.
Well, and then now it's a just trying to survive type of sport to where these team owners will settle for not winning to be able to get their bills paid, you know?
Yeah.
And that means, and I guess what I mean by that is, you know, anymore, 75% of the guys are paying their way, or they have a company paying their way, or they, you know, they have a rich grandpa or parents or whatever. And that's what it is now.
Yeah, most of the owners have conceded to that's what it takes to survive anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, and another thing that happened in 2001, of course, was when Earnhardt passed away.
Yep.
There was a lot of fans that dropped off.
Yep.
Oh, definitely.
A lot of
you know,
large voice.
But I'm going to say, you know, you say that, and yes, it definitely was the turning point in NASCAR as far as fan base and things like that. But they still had several really, really good years after that. You know, for the next next 4, 5, 6 years were still just sellout crowds.
And then we had the recession kind of hit.
Yeah, that's right.
2008 and 9, and that hurt. Like you said, it hurt all sports for a long time. I believe at the time you had big fans that would go to 5, 6, 7 races a year.
Right.
And they planned maybe 2 of those would be every year with gangs and friends would get together at maybe Watkins Glen or somewhere. Now they were having to choose 1 or 2, so they weren't doing the big party. They were trying 1 or 2 maybe they didn't go to before.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I think a lot of the fan base, I mean, believe me, you still have tons of diehard NASCAR fans, and you know, if they are a diehard NASCAR fan, just like Derek, if they're a diehard NASCAR fan, they're gonna continue to be one. But then now it's kind of like you get a little bit of, a lot of guys are just, you see fans in the stands that are first time people, and you know, they're gonna take their buddies and go to the race. Well, hopefully they get an experience that brings them back, you know. But there's a lot of people right now that are going to NASCAR races that are going to them for the first time. You know, so
that's usually all it takes is to get you in there one time.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Well, that's what I say. If you come and get that thrill, you can feel that vibration.
If you go
and hear
to
that
Bowman
smell.
Gray Stadium on a Saturday night once, you will be back.
Oh, absolutely.
I did that this year for the first time.
The Madhouse.
Yep.
And you will be back, right?
I went back the next week. I couldn't believe it. It was a madhouse. It was unbelievable.
It
That
is.
place was standing room only.
I mean, if you want good Saturday night entertainment,
God.
and you don't mind seeing the middle finger, and you don't mind, a lot of cigarette smoke and a few rednecks.
Don't wear your colors.
Right.
Unless you really want to go at it. It's like a prison.
But it is a show
like a
to
prison
see,
yard.
for sure. It's awesome.
A little bit of fighting and stuff
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
What is it? What did Marty say here? He said, where's Dickie? Hoping he would call in. Yeah, we're
Dickie's
going to
on.
have to do that.
Dickie's
Is he on there?
watching on
Okay.
Yeah, Dickie's on here.
Facebook.
I'd like to have Dickie call in here. Yeah,
I
when we
met
get a
Dickie's
minute.
daughter. She ran the front desk at a hotel there in Richmond.
Oh, how about that?
When we were checking in one year, and that was her claim to fame. So,
Oh.
unless she was lying to me, but I don't think she was. She said, "Hey,
Yeah.
my dad was the one that climbed up on the fence."
You put him up to it. Is that right, young lady? I dared him. Attaboy. He's our hero.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's good stuff there. So, Dickie, you got the number, I do believe. Going to say hello to Rachel Rodman. And, happy birthday,
Happy
Rachel
birthday,
Rodman.
Rachel.
Yeah.
We told Rachel Rodman happy birthday on YouTube.
Yeah, I told her on radio this morning. So we said happy birthday, and I played a harmonica, of course. But all right, as I usually do, right? There. Yes. All right, and Dickie Dennis, there he is. He said Amy is my baby. He says.
Okay.
So Amy would have been.
Yeah, this was at I can't remember the name of the hotel, but it was in Short Pump, and she was working at the front desk there. So,
Yeah.
and this has probably been 4 or 5 years ago.
So Marty's asking again, who is Clark's favorite drummer?
I'd have to go with Marty Houston on that one. I don't know a whole lot of drummers, if I'm being honest, but I'm gonna go with Marty Houston.
There you go. I know he kept wanting to sit over there during the show.
He is a really good drummer, by the way, and he's been. Oh my gosh, growing up, I mean, you just hearing him over and over. And I have like zero musical talent, you know what I mean? But it's like growing up, man, he just beat on them drums every day.
Like Todd Rundgren.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
That's right, exactly.
Want to bang on the drums all day.
That's right. I wanted to ask you, Clark, if you had any musical talent.
Not that I know of.
There's just
No.
all in racing.
He's still looking for it.
Still looking for it.
Colin,
I got you.
my oldest son, Colin, he just bought a guitar. So I think he's trying to pull out his inner musical talent. Maybe.
I think he's just trying to pick up chicks. If I'm being honest. I think that's his.
That'll do it.
He's bringing out his inner Marty.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So he's gonna teach himself how to play the guitar. I told him to get that. Is it the Chet Atkins book, or there was a video or a VHS tape? But we got to find a VCR.
Yeah.
I don't think we still have one of those.
Probably so. Chet Atkins had his different style,
Yeah.
the finger picking kind of stuff, but he was very good. Jody Brooke, hello to Jody. Phil.
Yep. Jody Kesterson.
Oh, is that right?
That's her maiden name.
Okay, she's listening from
That's
upstate.
when I knew her as a
Oh, okay.
classmate. And
Well, you know these people.
that one, yeah. My grandmother and her mother were best of friends. She's a sweet lady, Jody is.
Hey, Jody.
Yeah, she's from upstate New York and the Finger Lakes.
Geneva, New York, right at the top of the lake where everybody needs to go if you go to Watkins Glen. So many people head south and go to Ithaca and Corning. I'm like, have you ever been to Geneva or any of the places up at the top of the lake? The drive is gorgeous.
It's through the wine country.
Yeah, and the cliffs, the fall down there where the glaciers cut out the Seneca Lake and Cuga Lake.
Right.
It's beautiful up there.
Yeah. All right,
Clark,
and then
you over there shaking your head? Yes. Don't. I told you earlier. Don't. You haven't
been
been
to
there. Don't.
Watkins Glen.
He's never been to Watkins
He's seen the
Glen.
pictures. Okay.
I've seen it on TV.
There you go.
He plays it on
Okay,
iRacing.
that's Tom Cruise said that in Days of Thunder. I see it on TV. I
Yeah.
watched it on ESPN. It's amazing what you're going to learn.
Yeah.
That's right.
Linda Jinks up there in Pennsylvania. She's up near Scranton, I think. Wilkes-Barre.
Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Not Wilkes-Barre. Wilkes-Barre.
Oh, that's right. That's
Wilkes-Barre.
here. Wilkes-Barre.
Yes. Don Clark here in Statesville, not Statusville, as the GPS tends to say. And Brett Troutman and his whole family's tuned in. Hello to y'all. And Mike Bear. Mike Bear, I believe he's in Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right about that? And Jim Dooley's up in Virginia. He says Dickie Dennis had a rough night, apparently. So, all right. Yeah, they get on here in the mornings on our Facebook Live when I'm on the radio, and then they'll start having a conversation. It's pretty funny.
I bet it is.
Yeah. And Jim Dooley's a descendant of the Tom Dooley, Hang Your Head Tom Dooley.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I always tell him, hang your head, Jim Dooley. So, all right. So we're back to not Marty, Andy.
Yep.
We're back to
People
your-
call me Marty
your
all the
story.
time.
See,
You
Yes,
know,
yeah.
it's
Exactly,
funny.
another question.
And think about it is, Marty says people call him Andy all the time, and half the time he just rolls with it. I never roll with it, and that's no disrespect of Marty. I always correct him. I'm like, yeah, or Andy. You know, they'll say, hey Marty, or Andy. You know, and then I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, but I always tend to correct them.
Yeah. Well, y'all are both cool guys. I'll tell you, whenever I was the jackman for Marty, I looked up to him. I thought, man, that is one cool guy. You know, he just the way he carried himself.
Yeah, don't get carried
he had
away.
that
He's not
suave.
that.
Are you talking about Marty and Andy being cool? How about the father? How about
Well,
Tommy?
that's where we-
Tommy
that's
is
where we
like
got
one
it
of
from.
my. I was nervous to go around. You saw me the night I met him. I was like, oh man, he was like a desperado. He reminds me of like the old West.
Yeah,
with
oh, yeah.
You know, the
He is a
gunslinger.
desperado.
All right.
He's a
and-
fishing
bad.
desperado.
He's bad. Either
He loves
way,
to
he's my
fish.
hero.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know, yeah.
Well, and speaking of his mustache, right? He I believe that's where Earnhardt got the idea for the Tommy Houston mustache.
He probably did.
Yeah.
He probably did. And I think Dale, when Dale first come along, I think he looked up to my dad a lot. You know what I mean? And wanted to, I'll say, pattern himself after him, but he didn't race anything like my dad. Not at all. My dad thought that Dale was actually going to kill himself the first few years he raced because he tore up a lot of stuff. But he figured it out. He did okay.
Yeah.
You know?
He did okay. Yeah.
He figured he would wreck others before they wrecked him.
Right.
I remember one time, and I don't remember what year it was, but I was in Indianapolis in a rental car, and I drove up to a traffic light, and I looked to my left, and Dale was in the passenger seat, and JR was driving, and it was the week that Dale had been in the Caribbean scuba diving, and he shaved his mustache
remember that,
off.
yeah.
And I was like, what happened to this? And he took off in the light. I was like, wow.
Funny story about that. Being in Indy, I got another one that was just about like that. We left the hotel just a couple weeks ago. We raced there at the Brickyard, the first road race, which was crazy, you know. But anyway, we left the hotel one morning to go to the track, and we pulled up to the first stoplight that we got to out of the hotel, and pulled up beside us was none other than Mario Andretti by himself in a rental car. Wow. And Tim Fedowa, who spots for Harvick, was driving the van, and Tim looked over at Mario and kind of gave a twist of the wheel a little bit. Mario looked at him, and Mario, when the light turned green, gassed that thing and spun tires to the next stoplight. Wow. And none of us, not one person in that van had our phone out to be filming it, because if we would, it would have been it would have been viral. Yeah.
How about
but
that?
it was the coolest experience
You
that
all
I've
just
had in a long time.
Probably had your jaws dropped.
Oh,
on the
it was
ground.
we were laughing so hard we couldn't hardly drive. You know, it was unbelievable. It was great.
Yeah, that's cool. Gene Hammett said he's watching.
Hey,
as
Gene.
well. And
Gene's good friends of ours too.
Yeah, Kit Rodriguez is down in Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Hey,
And,
Clark, do you know Ryan Sparks?
I do know Ryan Sparks.
Ryan Sparks says, Clark, go to bed. Got to do work tomorrow.
Ryan Sparks is my
your-
boss.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is that your boss? Because, Sparks.
Yes.
I just put two and two together.
Clark works at Spire Motorsports.
Yeah,
And they had a good
yeah.
weekend. Corey had a shot at winning, and Justin Haley,
16th and a 6. Corey
Yeah.
was 16th and Justin was 6th.
So Clark, he's got the racing itch too, and I guess he's going to make a career of it, whether it's driving or working on them or whatever.
Well, he's starting out in the right building, right, Clark?
That's right, Alan Quickie.
Yep, that's the home Alan Quickie's first big shop there, Spire.
Tell him what you say.
Yeah, we think he's still in there.
I wouldn't doubt it at all.
What do you tell your mom when like getting to work in the morning?
Oh yeah, you don't ever want to be the first one in there because he could be in there.
Yeah.
So his mom says, "Do you get to work early?" And Clark says, "Yeah, I'm usually the third one there." And she says, "Third one, who beat you?" And the team manager, Greg, beats him, and the other one was Alan Kowicki.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think he's there all the time. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
How about that?
He was
That's
so
cool.
dedicated to that sport and his mission and his accomplished mission.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
He did it his way, right? Won the championship. All right, Dickie said he tried to call twice, so I missed it. I was busy.
So Marty did ask
Call
another
again.
question.
All right.
He said, ask Andy about the P5 car he used to draw.
Yes. I didn't know how to make nines. My dad, growing up, my dad was always number 95. And I know most people that listen to the show probably remember him as number 6. But all through his late model sportsman career, he was always 95. He didn't start running number 6 until he started in the Busch Series. And as a little kid, I didn't know which way my 9 went. So all my cars were P5. So, but then then when I started racing, I wanted to be 95 too, just like my dad. So my whole late model career was 95. I should have made it P5. I should have just been P5. That would have been that would have been unique, And then everybody could say, "What's the P for?" And I'd be like, "I don't know."
Is that why every time you qualified 5th, you would get out and get so excited? You were P5.
P5, that's right.
That's what I was thinking. Then you're just going to set your goal for finishing in position 5.
Qualifying, you got to win. Right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Clark doesn't know about P5. He's P1.
Well,
Clark's P1.
We usually qualify on the pole, and then they do an invert, and we end up starting P5.
What do you attribute to that to?
What's that? Oh,
Your ability or the car or what? Serious, I'm not joking. Like I put that.
The truck I'm in is a very good truck.
It is. It's very good, but take some credit. Yeah. Take some credit. It is a great truck.
It's a good truck, but I mean, it's a very good truck. Casper and Ashley, they bring a good piece for me, and I drive it as hard as I can every lap of the race. So
that's the response, because all the Cup owners, Ganassi and Hendrick and Roush, they all listen to this show every week. They're all on here.
10-4.
Well,
there you go.
It's a combination of things, Clark.
It does. It always takes a total package, right?
That's right. All the pieces got to be there.
Yeah, what were you going to say to Marty about the P5?
I was just going to say that he needs to. That's about enough questions. That's about how many I sent in whenever he was on the show.
You're done now. You're cut off. No
he
more
hadn't.
questions.
He hadn't texted them to me, so he's.
So Clark, there's a question on here. You like country music? Is that?
I love country music.
Who's your favorite artist? I think Rachel wanted to know that.
Well, I really like 90s country. I really like Brooks and Dunn. I listen to a lot of Brooks and Dunn, but any 90s country, I'm probably listening to it on my way to or from work. So. But
no particular artist that you.
Brooks and Dunn. Brooks and Dunn. Yeah.
Cool.
Very good. You can listen to this station in 92.9.
Absolutely.
And then switch it over to 550 AM if you start getting further away.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's where we play all the good stuff.
I remember back in 1992, I was shooting for the scene as a stringer, and Cindy Karam, who now is Cindy Elliott, Chase's mom, she hired me to go down to the Speedway, and Brooks and Dunn were there with Richard Childress, and there were 4 or 5 different country artists. I can't even remember them all. And they all took the Richard Petty driving the career. Oh, Troy Aikman was there too.
Oh, really?
And Billy Bates.
I was at the concert. I was at the concert at Charlotte Motor Speedway on pole day whenever Waylon was there, and they had the big riot, and they threw all the beer bottles and stuff across the front stretch. I was young. I was 10,
wow.
9 or 10, and all the NASCAR racing people and crews and drivers and stuff, their families got to go in the infield grass. Anyone that had grandstand tickets had to stay in the grandstands. Well, they didn't like that too good. And then the Hells Angels showed up, and then they didn't like that even worse. I think the biggest problem was they had free beer. I think they had free beer.
Oh.
And I think just a lot of people got intoxicated and got acting crazy. But I remembered as a little kid, and Waylon, he showed up late, and he didn't play long, and it was – you can read about that you can look on your Google, and there's articles on it. But
interesting.
Speaking of old-time country,
Yeah.
So. But it was, that's another one of those memories that you talk about the racing and cherishing the memories. That was another one that I remember.
Yeah, that's a neat story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you were there too.
See, that's the part that kind of personally I never saw coming, was that I thought we'd always had, and we still do. We had a Tommy Houston and Andy and Marty, and now we got
Phil,
Clark.
tell people about pole day. Charlotte Motor Speedway pole day. The grandstands packed out
on a Wednesday night
for one round of qualifying.
Right.
Even when they went to Wednesday night.
Yep.
And just people, new fans don't get to experience
Pit
that kind
road
of
was
stuff.
covered with everybody's family. That's like friends that say, "Can you get me a pass to Charlotte?"
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, pole day was a big deal.
Yeah, I had a good picture, really cool picture that was in Winston Cup Illustrated that had it had me standing behind Nemechek. I'll build engines for him, qualifying engines back then, and he usually qualified pretty good. And he got second round fastest, but he had bumped a wall or whatever. But you could see in the background the stands were just completely packed, like you said.
Right. Yeah.
And Winston qualifying, those times.
And back in those days they had 2 rounds of qualifying. And if you either had to make it in on first round, which, like, if the field was 43, first round would be like they would take 25, and then everyone else would either have to rerun or they would have to stand on their time. Well, my first time I ever drove a Cup car was in 2000, the year 2000, and that was the last year of 2 rounds of qualifying. So I remember going to the last race of the year at Homestead, and I just totally missed whatever qualifying the first round, and I was last or second to last or whatever. I was really bad. Well, second round qualifying was the next morning on Saturday after an Xfinity Series practice or something. It was like the racetrack was going to be way slow and way off. Well, we go out to qualify, or we go out on the line to get ready to qualify, and I remember Ted Musgrave walking up to me, and he said, after this qualifying round, is your plane that you're flying on going back to Charlotte or to Concord? And I said, I don't know. And he said, well, because if they are, he says, I want to go with y'all. And I said, well, y'all, I said, I'm getting ready to qualify here and get myself in this race. I'm not planning on going home. And he laughed at me. Ted laughed at me, and I was the only car that rerun second round qualifying that made the race, and actually made the race really solid. Like I ended up being like 28th or something like that. But I think he made me mad enough. I think he made me mad enough that I just went out there and got it done. You know what I mean? But I remember that story very well as well.
That made your focus a little bit
yes,
better,
it
didn't
did,
it?
for sure.
Some old stories of mine that qualifying. I remember going to Charlotte in the 70s, playing hooky from school. My dad and I would go down there because they raced, or they qualified on Wednesday for the race on Sunday for either the Coke, or back then it was the World 600. And so we'd go down there on Wednesday and watch, I'm watching the 30 car, the red 30 car, Walter Ballard owned car, and I look back on it now, and I think I bet it was Dale Sr. driving that car when I was going there.
Right.
But that was before he went to Rod Osterland. But we'd go down there, and you're right, Andy, they'd qualify like the top 20 positions, then they'd come back on Thursday and qualify the next, fill the field. But then I remember also, you were talking about Alan Kowicki, was up there on one Wednesday night watching qualifying, and Alan qualified on the pole at 184, average 184, and we were thinking that was totally outrageous in that Hooters car.
Right.
And that was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was one of the first nights of night qualifying.
Right. I got you.
So pretty cool.
Yeah, the neat thing is that second round of qualifying usually was Saturday morning. It wasn't Friday.
Right.
Exactly. You'd have to go sit in your hotel room.
Yeah.
If you slipped up or something. I mean, I'm guessing as a driver,
Well, and the thing about it is, after you had 15 minutes after the first round of qualifying to either stand. What they called standing on your time is you would go to the NASCAR truck and you would say, I would like to requalify, or the lap that you ran that day, you could stand on your time, and that would be your lap of record, or you could rerun. Well, most of the time people stood because the next day was going to be way slower, But if you were out of the top, 39 or 40 or whatever, and you didn't have a provisional, you had to rerun.
Yeah,
you had to rerun, So that's kind of the situation I got in at Homestead, that I had to rerun, and everyone else that knew they were going to be in the race stood on their time.
But did you make eye contact with Musgrave after that?
I don't ever remember. I just remember the conversation and remember, getting in the race.
Yeah?
I think Ted had to find a ride home, and it wasn't with me.
You were going to make sure of that.
And he did go home.
Because you had already told him,
right.
Ain't going home.
Not going home.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he laughed at me.
That's
yeah,
cool.
how about that? He hangs around here in Statesville a lot. Yeah, he was actually
Ted's
on
a
He
good
was
guy.
on the
Ted
show
and I-
a month and a half ago. Great guy.
Yeah,
He and I were teammates at Ultra in the Truck Series there later in both of our careers. You know what I mean? But Ted's a great guy, and we got to spend a few years together, and stuff. But I don't know that I ever told him that story. Maybe I did tell him the story. I don't remember, but I don't think I ever told him the story.
Did he win a championship over there at Ultra? Is that his championship?
Yeah, I think
in the
he had one.
trucks?
He had one taken away, and then I think
Right.
he ended up winning the championship the next year. I believe.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to Racing Roots with Hamm. We got Andy and Clark Houston in here with us, so we'll be right back.
Hey, we've got Ryan Scott here with Randy Marion in Statesville. Tell us about your pre-owned cars.
Billy Buck, let me ask you something. If you were going to buy a pre-owned vehicle, wouldn't you want to buy with confidence? That is what Randy Marion here in Statesville has. We have got our certified pre-owned programs with Chevrolet, Ford, and Lincoln. What does that give you, the buyer, on that next pre-owned car or truck? It gives you confidence as that vehicle has been checked bumper to bumper. We have great incentivized rates to make that purchase even better. Certified pre-owned. Check them out today. Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville and Randy Marion Ford Lincoln. Come see us today.
At Banner Drug, we are proud to say we have been caring for our patients in our community since 1996. Our pharmacy offers a personalized customer service experience you expect from a locally owned store. To help you with your prescriptions, all 4 Banner Drug locations can deliver your medication right to your door. You can call in your prescription refill order, or better yet, use the convenient refill button on our website, www.bannerdrug.com.
Real Country 550 and 92.9 WAME.
All right, we're back on the Racing Roots with Hamm right here on 550 AM and 92.9 FM, and I'm multitasking at the moment. But we have got, we've got Andy Houston and Clark Houston in with us. They're father, son, and grandson of Tommy Houston, as we all know from the Hickory fame and in racing in the Busch Series, and he won a lot of races.
He did. Yep.
Yes. And so, all right. So who we got on the phone with us?
This is me, David. How y'all doing? Good
great.
Evening, Tracy, and good evening to the Houstons and Phil and everybody. It's like the Waltons family, I guess.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. All right. So we got Dickie Dennis on the line with us, the infamous fence climber from 2014 in Richmond, Virginia. He stopped the race. So,
Dickie, how you doing, bud?
Yeah, that's fun times, man. I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
I'm doing good. I heard my brother, he kind of picked your brain on exactly what went down that night, but that was a pretty epic moment in NASCAR. So you have one of the epic moments in NASCAR for sure.
Yeah, how about that, Dickie?
I hear somewhere that it is in a NASCAR, I guess, logbook or something, like the first time there's ever been a caution flag for spectator participation.
Yeah, I would say you might be right. Have you ever thought about stealing the pace car at Talladega? Have you ever thought about that?
No, not ever.
He says, I'm not going to
Not
advertise
ever.
it.
There's going to be a rather large party in Richmond coming up pretty quick. You guys want to hook up, man? I can get you guys over to where most of us will be hanging out.
Okay. Maybe I'll have to. You can maybe go through Hamm and we'll get that info and maybe we can hang out. I think Richmond this year is going to be a little different. It's a 1-day show. We're going to run Xfinity in the afternoon and then we're going to run Cup at night. So I think we're probably just going to be coming up for the day on Saturday.
But I think Dickie said he was going to do something special at Richmond, didn't you, Dickie?
Yeah,
something
Richmond.
a little crazy this time around. You promised me, buddy.
No, I'm not allowed on their property, but there is some private property right adjacent to it that some friends of mine own, and there's always a huge amount of RVs. It's a pretty good sized campground. Most of the campgrounds are going away around Richmond right now because of Amazon buying up lots and lots of property.
A lot of
there.
racetracks are that way. I know Chicagoland Speedway's all Amazon buildings around it, you know.
Oh, hey, I forgot. Hello, Marty. I forgot to say hi to Marty.
Yeah, Marty's tuned in too on the YouTube. So yeah,
Okay.
he said, "Hey, Dickie." So Derek said he was there in 2014.
Jim was right. I had quite an interesting night last night. I've been fighting this hangover all day today. I feel pretty good. I got out and I had to unload a very large U-Haul, broke sweat, and I think I got all the poison out of me. I'm feeling a lot better now.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Hydrate.
I know, right?
Flush out the toxins. All right. So, Gene, do you have any good memories from that day, that evening there at Richmond in 2014?
Dickie, all I've got to say is that my wife and I were in the stands, and you were not too far down in front of us, just off to our left. And I remember seeing you, and I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, this guy, I hope he doesn't roll off backward down onto the racing surface, because that would be really, really bad news. And I kept wondering, okay, what are they going to do? What's NASCAR going to do? And they finally threw the caution, and I was thinking, okay, good. You got to slow these cars down, because I didn't know if Dickie, if you were going to lose your balance, or if the fence was going to give in, or what. But my lasting memory of that is how many people greeted you when you got back down to the bottom. That was,
you had a lot of greeters.
I really, really, truly appreciate the concern, but believe me, brother, I would not have attempted it if I didn't have a clue at what I was doing.
Yeah, you looked like a trained professional getting up on there. You know, you look like you had it fully under control.
From what you've said in weeks since then on this show, I think you were better than I thought you were that night. So. Yeah, I think you were. I think someone was kind of putting you up to that, were they?
Jack Daniels?
I don't know. Nobody had put me. No one had put me up to it. It was just like I was avoiding a fight. There was going to be an issue in the bleachers, and the guy behind me had spilled a beer on me, and they were getting ready to be big issues. And I told him safest place for him was if I was sitting on that catch fence. He told me I didn't have, and I proved him that I did have those. In fact, yeah.
You did.
Well, I guess you did a good thing. You removed yourself from the situation.
That's right.
Yeah, so Dickie was...
and I had to remove myself from the fence. There was no way that they could have got up there to get me.
Well, they were not coming up there. They were waiting
There's
for you
a lot
to
of
come
my friends that there's a lot of my friends that told me that I should have went ahead and did a victory lap around the whole fence.
That would have been really.
That would have been.
You know what, right?
Yeah.
Well, tell them what you did in the military, Dickie.
Oh, I used to, when I first got out of my basic to my permanent duty station, I was assigned to the 101st Airborne in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and learned how to slide down ropes and rappel out of helicopters and jump out of the back of helicopters into lakes and lots of stuff. I stayed busy. I was gone from home a lot, overseas a lot. We were in a ready react unit, and, when you get called up, you got to go do what you got to do,
Well, thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
Dickie.
That is, and so
I tell
with
everybody the same thing. Everything it's all about the honor. It
Right.
was truly an honor.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, with that being said, you were definitely, that was probably no big deal to you to climb up on that fence. You know what I mean? So, but no,
not at all.
Yeah, right,
not
right.
at all.
That's cool, Dickie. Well, thanks for calling, man. You got anything else you want to say while you're on here?
No, I'm good, man. I'm great. I'm thankful to get to be a part of this show. And like I told you once before, David, I missed a lot of NASCAR while I was in the service, and your show helps me get caught up on what I missed.
Mm-hmm. Good.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. Really cool.
Y'all have a great night, man.
Thanks, Dickie. Good
too,
talking
Dickie.
to you, buddy.
Talk to you in the morning or later.
Right on.
See you,
All right,
bud.
bye.
Bye. All right, good deal. Dickie Dennis, the infamous fence climber. And Marty, your brother Marty Houston sent me this picture. He said, where the cool started. There you go.
That is cool. Matter of fact, I think
I'll show that to the camera.
I
here
think
in a second.
Clark, you had that as your profile picture at one point in time or something.
It was my screensaver.
Oh,
on
his
my phone
screensaver,
for quite a while.
I did want to ask you how cool is it to like when you get around other kids and all, and I mean in school, and are they like, I'm sure you probably told them who your grandfather was.
Oh yeah,
and your dad. I mean, and your uncle. So,
yeah,
I mean,
for sure. I think it was probably the way the sport was probably a lot cooler for Dad and Marty and Scott when they were growing up, just because the sport was. I don't want to say it was thriving a lot more, but it was a lot more popular, like he said. People would go to the track on weekends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And but I still love to show it off. Hey, this is my dad. Driving race cars or this and that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
They say, Andy, isn't he Tommy's son?
That's what most people say for all of us,
Yeah,
so.
because what you're talking about back then, Clark, is you had guys like your grandfather who had driven for 20 years, so their names were synonymous, especially in the the southeast, you know. And now that it's opened up nationwide and more internationally, we've got international drivers that are driving.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I mean, and they do an amazing job.
And even, you know, getting back to what y'all were saying about Hickory Speedway on a Saturday night, and naming all those guys would be there every Saturday night, and they were guys that were from Hickory or Taylorsville or Asheville or you know, around this area, Morganton, places like that, Conover. Those guys were from here, and those were the guys that were racing there. Now it's like guys from all over, and no disrespect to that, because they want to race at Hickory because it, you know, it's how famous it is. It's it's where the NASCAR stars are born. A lot of guys want to race there, but even when I ran late models there, most of the guys that I raced late models against, there were some guys that were transplants, but most of them were local guys, you know, and I think that's what changed the fan base a little bit, local racing fan base, because people locally come out to see their local hero. And that's one thing about Bowman Gray Stadium still to this day. You know, you got Burt Myers, you got Tim Brown, you got guys that race there every Saturday night, and those fans come to see those guys. Well, a lot of these other short tracks, you know, these guys come and go, and they're there a year or half a year or 2 years or whatever, and then they're gone doing something else. And it's hard to, you know, it's hard to build a fan base that way.
Yeah, true. Can see that. So speaking of fan base, so Clark, where do you see yourself going from here on?
You know, as long as I'm driving race cars, I'm happy. Being around racing, you know, I love being around racing. You know, I'd love to go on and do big things. You know, go Cup racing or Xfinity racing or whatever. But if that's not meant to be, then I just want to be around racing. You know, whether it be spotting or working on race cars or anything really. You know, I just love being around the sport.
Yeah, there you go. So you don't have a girlfriend, do you?
I do have a girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've had a girlfriend for about 2
That's
years.
A handbrake.
A little over 2 years.
You don't have a handbrake in a race car, do you?
Well, that's good. What's her name? Brooke, okay.
She comes to all the races.
Of course she does.
Oh, yeah.
She's supportive. That's great.
Yeah, she supports him. She supports him well. She reminds me a lot of my wife Lori and myself when we were that age and racing kind of on that same level. It's very similar situation for sure.
Okay. So your wife's been with you all along?
Long time. Yeah, long time. We've been married 26 years, and we were together another 7, 8, 9.
Get the numbers right.
I'm gonna throw a bunch of numbers. If you throw a bunch of numbers, then you don't have to get it right. See, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, but your nines are P's, so it's still sketchy.
This is true.
Yeah, I've been married 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, right.
See, now it changes. It's there's a difference between 5 and 7.
Yeah, it is for sure. But now the thing about Clark is. You know, we've got great support for him right now with Jeff Klein and with Alps Mountain Affordable Hearing. I mean, that guy's he's been over backwards for Clark, and when I was Clark's age, you know, I had some great support with Alex Little, who owned Country Chair, and he kind of did the same for me as what Jeff is doing for Clark, and you know, not only Jeff, but Ashley Huffman, all them guys at Dwight Huffman Racing, they've done a lot for Clark and myself, and they let me come up there and hang out and bug them and work on their stuff, and I enjoy it as well.
Every once in a while, they let them hop in a race car too and make some laps.
I've made some laps in the last, I don't know, couple months.
How'd that feel?
It felt good, but I'm not as fast as I once was. I don't feel like, and me and Clark, we made laps back to back in the same vehicle, and he's faster than me by a good little amount, and it kind of tore me up. I gotta work on it. But you know, these kids nowadays, they iRace, they do all this stuff. They got all these games on their phones and stuff. I mean, I'm old. I don't have none of that, you know. So, but it's fun.
That's good. Yeah, they got quick reaction times now too. So this Klein person, is he from out that way?
Jeff Klein, he's from the Hickory area. Okay. Yeah, but like I said, they've got a place at the beach because they have a location down there at the beach, an office down there, and he's in the mountains a lot, up around the Boone area at another location.
Yeah, he's got a location in Boone. I think he's got one in Jonesville. He's got one in Lincoln, Hickory, and Ocean Isle, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. So me and Tracy we have Klein in our family. And I say in our family because we're distant cousins, of course. I mean, not of course. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, we were out
went to a commercial.
Commercial time. I mean, the way it is. Okay, so we were out in the Hickory. What's that little church out there?
Newton.
Okay, well, whatever.
Newton.
Yeah, Old St. Paul's Church.
The little white church.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
And it was kind of funny because we were going there for his family reunion, and my stepmom used to always go that way to go to Valley Hills Mall because she lived in Denver. So I remember passing that church, and as we were passing it, I said, my stepmom said that church is haunted. So we're out there checking out the graves, and he takes a picture next to the tombstone.
Yeah, of her standing
me.
beside my sixth great grandfather.
And then he starts researching it and finds out that we're related.
Yeah.
Wow.
Our,
cool.
By the same person that I was standing at their tombstone.
We would take field trips there when I was in elementary school, and they'd show you where the blood's on the pews and all that stuff. You remember that? Yeah,
The
yeah.
blood
Oh.
the blood is upstairs.
They say they
up in the balcony. Believe it or not, that little building has a balcony.
It does,
I didn't
right?
go inside.
Yeah, and there's pews around the top up there, and there is blood on one of the pews apparently from someone. Someone
gunshot
that
of
was
some
running.
kind.
Was running away.
Yep.
So that's one of the oldest churches in Catawba County. By the way.
Yeah. Well, my common grandfather, he passed away in 1792. So, yeah, that's far back enough, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're safe.
Yeah, there's plenty of marriages in there, David.
Yeah, there is. It's all good.
Yeah.
You know, no kids involved and all that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So,
Clark-
question came through. Jake McVee wants to know, what does Andy think about the numbers moving forward on the cars?
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really bother me. If you look at this new car, this next gen car, it has very short distance between the back tire and the rear spoiler or the back of the car. So they've kind of lost a little bit of space there for sponsorship. Well, as we all know, sponsorship is what drives this sport and has forever. So I don't think it's a bad idea since they've lost all the contingents. Well, I shouldn't say lost, but since they've moved all the contingency sponsors, stickers that used to be on the front fenders, you know, there was old late model sportsman cars and stuff that had the numbers. Jack Ingram had a car one time that had the numbers slid all the way to the front, and I thought it was always looked kind of cool. So I think you could make it. I think it gives you a lot of options to make a car look good, but it doesn't. You know.
Yeah.
The sponsor's the main thing. Have
Yeah, but
you know.
I agree with that somewhat, and I'm going to be obviously comical about this, but you say the number's not as important for the sponsor, but I remember going to a track and seeing 80,000 people hold up the number 3 and not a can of Mobil oil.
Well, that's true. That's true. But you know, that 3 still, you know, it could. You can still make it big.
3.
You can still make
Not
it.
tied.
you can still make it big and just put it to the front.
They couldn't get that oil through the gate. You know, so
Well, let me tell you, I would much rather see them move the numbers forward than ever consider putting the numbers on the rear quarter panel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
to
I
me,
Hold on.
that just looks.
All right.
It makes race cars look really, really silly. I think having
Looks
the
like a
numbers on the rear
stretch
quarter.
limo race car.
Yeah,
now.
right.
So that's the numbers.
That's and I mean, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
And even after Jack got skull, even after he got skull there for the first year or the first couple of years, Jack Ingram still had his 11 forward. It had skull behind the number, you know, with a major sponsor basically. And then I think NASCAR changed it to where the numbers had to be.
And
in
they
the
were
center of the
leaning
board.
11s, weren't they?
Yeah, they were leaning. Yeah,
They were straight, and then when they did that, he leaned them forward, right?
right, exactly.
So, and Marty sent me this picture, and he said that was your first ride, your first.
That's it. And Marty's teaching me. He's teaching me how to do it right there. So that's. I think Marty's driving and I'm behind him, I believe. Yeah. So.
Here you go.
So
Yeah. That's me in the back. That's Marty in the front.
How about
I
that?
was brave as a little kid.
Yeah, that's cool. Very good.
So Clark, are you? If people want to find you on social media, what are you on?
Yeah, I'm on all of them: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Facebook's obviously just Clark Houston, and then Instagram is Clark Houston 6, and so is Twitter. So
Got a ClarkHouston.com yet?
no website yet, but I need to get
That's
on
all
that.
right.
Need to get on that.
What about that shirt that Marty was wearing when he was in? How can you get those?
Yeah, right now we just got them, selling them at the racetrack, taking them with us. But we need to work on a website and get that dialed in so we can have people order them.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, just remember when you're at the racetrack, I know you got to deal with social media, and I only bring this up because I was at Milwaukee Mile yesterday shooting. Do you know Corey Hamm?
Well, I don't know him personally.
He races ARCA, and I was trying to get a shot of him, and he was on the pit wall.
I've spotted for him a few times
Bob
this
Gilmer
year.
came up to me, and he's like, "Hey, Corey," and Corey doesn't know me. And Corey's, "Hey, Bob, let me pose for you." And I'm like, "Is that what it takes?" So give the photographer a look. You know,
That's right.
Not this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Right.
Yeah. There you go. All right, so you're someday we'll get you back in here when you're racing in the, I guess the Busch Series would be your first.
That'd be good.
Or Craftsman Truck Series.
Any of them be good.
Or whatever it is now. Yeah. What did I say? The Busch Series and Xfinity. I don't even know what they're calling anymore. Is it Xfinity?
Xfinity.
Still? Okay.
Yeah, it's
it changes from time to time.
I know it does. Yeah.
Yearly.
So I just always say the Busch Series. I figured.
That's what most of us old guys call it, the Busch Series. You know what I mean? So.
Still call it the Coke 600.
And it's actually been,
Winston.
it's been something. It was something before Xfinity, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was
Nationwide.
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 Yeah, it was nationwide. Matter of fact, we won championship when it was nationwide with Austin Dillon, and I was spotting for him. So
There you go.
Yep.
How many championships you got?
Just two. Well, three actually. I worked at Kevin Harvick's. Wasn't spotting for Hornaday, but I worked on Hornaday's truck when he won the championship, and then
Still a championship.
And then we won the truck championship with Austin, and won the Xfinity championship with Austin as well. And that was as far as as a spotter, those were great accomplishments. And winning the Daytona 500 with Austin was a great accomplishment, along with the Coke 600. So I got a handful of rings that just sit in a drawer, but I'm still glad I got them.
Yeah. And we have a lot of times people will ask, what is your favorite moment that you remember in, throughout your racing career or spotting a certain race or something?
Yeah. I mean, mine for sure is winning my first NASCAR Craftsman truck race at New Hampshire, beating Greg Biffle on the last lap. And you can find that on YouTube as well. That was a heck of a battle. I stopped and got tires late in the race. Biffle stopped and got fuel only, and I ran him down from about half a lap within, I don't know, 15 laps or something, last 10 or 15 laps. And I kind of caught him off guard with 4 or 5 laps to go, and he was completely out of tires. And he was trying to hold me off all he could, and I ended up giving him a little tap, getting into 3 on the last lap, and just moved him up enough to where I could dart under him, and we won the race. And at that point in time, that's one of those moments in your career where you're like, this is it. This is it. This is when we're going all the way. You know what I mean? And
so he was tough.
Yeah, and he was. And actually, Greg ended up beating me for Rookie of the Year that year in the Truck Series, but he never won a race that year. And so that was I gave up. I would have given up being Rookie of the Year to get that first win. Which was really a special moment.
Yeah, very good. That's awesome. He was at the Granger.
He was in the Granger truck. Yeah, correct.
Yep,
So Jake McVie says, congrats, Clark, on your win at Anderson.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
And Marty says, when is your next race?
Next race is September. Oh god.
September
20 something.
Okay.
I'd have to pull up the schedule here. But it is at Anderson Motor Speedway in South Carolina. And we won there. We had twin races there 2 weeks ago, and we won the first twin race and had a flat right front in the second twin race. Had to come from the back, and ended up finishing third in the second race. So we got some good momentum there too. So we're looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's September 25th, I think.
Thanks, Derek.
Yeah, September 25th. Yeah.
And where is it at?
Anderson, South Carolina.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a kind of a long way down there. There's not a lot out there.
When he said Anderson, South Carolina right there, it reminded me of when Lugs Harvey was on the radio with Stroke Race, and he said, I'm his crew chief, Lugs Harvey. Everybody remember that part of the movie?
Yes,
That's kind of what that reminded me of.
I just remembered your brother Marty had commented, we were talking about Charlotte Motor Speedway, and I'll try to do it to him. That famous Bill Cannell here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Bill Cannell.
You sound a lot like Bill Cannell.
I don't know about that. His son is an announcer, isn't he?
I'm not sure.
I think he does. Bill's son does.
Bill had a great radio
Oh, he did.
Oh, he did. Yeah,
Very
he was
exciting
great.
because he had a cadence that was really flowed nice.
Right.
Instead of that guy at Indianapolis, here comes Jeff. Of course, when your front stretch is 1.5 miles long, you gotta take it off.
That's a good point there. Yes. See, my radio voice, I just do the best I can what I got to work with.
Right.
Pretty much. It's Southern, so that counts for something.
Yeah. Well, we're in the South, so it's good to have.
Yeah.
That's it. You do it, David.
Yeah, you steer the ship, and we're the jugheads that have got our oars and stroke, hey.
Well, I'm trying to step my deal up a little bit too, because I'm actually considering streaming on a bunch of different platforms. So tonight we did a live on Facebook for just a little while to tell people to come over and watch, and then on Twitter. We should have
had quite a few people tuning in for the first couple of minutes, because a lot of my friends were like, "Who's on tonight?" And I'm like, "We got Brian France on."
Yeah.
Are you serious? I got to go now. So hopefully we
minute.
had quite a few.
That works. So your friends are I see what you're saying. Yeah, I was going to say they're Brian France fans, but
well,
maybe not.
Probably wanted to hear what he had to say.
Right, exactly.
First interview in
right.
I don't know how long.
That's right.
Yeah, it's very good.
Anyways, I'd like to thank Jersey Cape Yachts. That's when we need to get away from a subject. We go to
Jersey Cape Yachts, man. Jersey Cape Yachts can hook you right up there in the Lower Cape Jersey
Say it.
Gosh, Jersey Cape
Say it, Bill.
Yachts. So yeah, if you need a yacht, they got 31 to 66 foot. They do custom yachts, by the way. Like they can hook you up with Lake Norman or whatever. But it's JerseyCapeYachts.com. There's Wayne and Janine Pugliese, and it's the email for her is Janine with a G at JerseyCapeYachts.com. And also Great RV Life, Great GR8 RV Life. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram, because they can hook you up in an RV. Like if you're going to go to Martinsville, anywhere, you can not necessarily just racetracks, but anywhere you want to rent an RV or a travel trailer or a motor home or whatever. And it's a pretty cool deal because you don't have to buy it. The expense of owning one.
Yeah, you don't want and somewhere to park it.
Right. Yes, exactly. You have to store it. You have to, if you got a HOA, forget about it. So these people, that's Scott McCormick, who works down at Roush Yates Engines. He worked with me down there. And Sheila Duncan, who's here in Statesville. And she just came up with this idea. They came up with this idea to do RV rentals, which makes a lot of sense. And it ties right into my show here. So you can rent an RV and go stay at the racetracks. And I might end up doing that at some point. But I know, yes.
Or if you want to go to Monument Valley, Utah.
No,
Phil,
I'm flying out there. I'm not driving.
But you could rent if you wanted to. You can go out there and tour the national parks.
You can, yes.
I've done that before. It's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I did like a 10-day rental and did all the Grand Staircase with a buddy of mine over 10 days. It was beautiful out there.
I bet. I might have to do that.
Yeah.
I'll probably get some traveling.
Flew into Vegas and rented it and drove it out.
Mm-hmm.
But, that would be the ticket, is to get something at Charlotte Motor Speedway. You can probably find spaces in there for less than $200 for the weekend for your camper.
Mm-hmm.
Got your own little pad there and don't have to worry about going anywhere or driving anywhere.
That's right. They go set it up for you and you just show up and they're there. Right.
For sure.
One other thing about Jersey Cape Yachts is, remember, it's getting to be winter time, and they can you can sign up get a contract with them to store your boat for the winter. And during hurricane season, you can reach them about the hurricane relief program they've got to take care of your boat if a hurricane's approaching. You don't have to worry about your sailboat or boat. They'll ship it inland and store it for you and get it away from the danger area. And they can be reached at 609-965-8650. That's 609-965-8650.
There you go. Jersey Cape Yachts. Thank y'all so much for sponsoring the show. And my buddy Terry Levan, who's the Tilly Hardy Davidson over here, it was his birthday today too as well, so happy birthday to him. And he was sending me pictures out here on his pontoon boat this morning. He was out on the lake, and he requested a Merle Haggard, Are the Good Times Really Over for Good? So I played that song for him on the radio. He had us tuned in, and then he called him a big old bass, and he said that was the song that did it.
Well, good for him.
Yeah. 40 man.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. All right, so any final thoughts, any parting words here that y'all have?
I do.
Yes.
I know that I had the opportunity to knock off one bucket list by going to Bowman Gray for the first time 2 weeks in a row this year. But last night, after I left Milwaukee Speedway, I went up and knocked off number 2 bucket list, Slinger Speedway. little quarter-mile bowl. You can see why Kowicki and Mark Martin and the likes of Rusty enjoyed racing at Bristol so much after going to that place. It's
Never
pretty
been
amazing.
there. Never been there, but I've seen YouTube videos and races from there, and it looks pretty amazing.
It's fast.
It's
My friend
small
Kim,
and got big banking.
Yep.
Matt Kenseth raced there.
I imagine he
I'd say
probably
he
did.
did,
Anybody
yeah.
from Wisconsin, I know
Yeah.
Musgrave probably raced there. I'm sure.
Musgrave raced there. Dick Trickle, Bickle. Bickle spent a lot of time there.
Ran
And
there
you know
same
what?
other
Hey,
year.
guess that Rich Bickle was there last night racing.
Was he?
Yes, he was. He was the only one I would have recognized his name,
Yeah. Right.
But
How
it's
about
a
that?
fast little track. Slinger.
Very cool. So where can we find that at on the social medias?
Slinger Speedway, probably.
Just do a
It's up in
Google search.
Wisconsin.
Yep, Slinger, Wisconsin.
30 miles north of Milwaukee. Just
Yep.
a short drive up Route 41.
That's right. You were talking about going to the Milwaukee Mile, and you asked me if I'd been there. I said I guess I had been there one time. At
Man,
least
what a
once or
great,
twice.
what a
Oh,
great
that is-
racetrack.
What a venue. I mean, you're inside of the state fairgrounds.
Right.
When you go outside, it's got to be. I've been to a lot of state fairs, but that place looks like a lot of fun.
We we raced trucks up there for a lot of years, and ran an Xfinity race there or a Busch race back in 2000, I think. But always enjoyed going there.
Yeah, it's getting weathered. That track is one of the oldest in the U.S. It's like 110 years old.
Matter of fact, they ran trucks. They ran super trucks there, like what Clark races. Different. They have a division out there called the Midwest Super Truck Series, and they ran there a few months back, and we actually contemplated going up there, but Clark had to race at Kingsport, Tennessee, the night before, so it was going to be. Logistically, we would have had to drove all night, and we would have probably missed first practice. So we decided that probably wasn't a smart plan.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, there you go. It's always next year. Daytona, let's see. Scott Trevison's tuned in, the bigger man. You probably remember him. He was the guy that would go and hang up all the Coors Light signs, and every time you'd roll into Bristol or whatever, you'd see these big Coors Light banners hanging up back in the day with Sterling Marlin. And you didn't have a Sterling Marlin story, did you?
I don't have any Sterling
He usually asks
stories.
for one.
I know.
How about a Stedman Marlin story?
Well,
How about anything? Earnhardt.
the closest story I would have would be Nick Harrison, who was really good friends with Stedman and Sterling. And, Nick was a crew chief at RCR for a lot of years, but Nick was a funny character. He was one of them guys that never met a stranger. But, Nick, he passed away here a year or so ago, and he was a great dude. He was one of those personalities in racing that don't come along every day, so we definitely miss him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that now. I was like, Nick
Right.
Harrison. I remember that name, yeah.
Yep.
Been about a year or so ago. Do you have any Earnhardt Senior? Because I know Marty said that they all used to get together sometimes.
Oh
He
yeah,
would
I
kinda hang out.
got.
I'll let the fans know that your dad is his uncle, right?
Yeah, Teresa is actually my cousin,
cousin,
my
yeah.
first cousin,
Yeah.
my dad's niece. But
So Dale would be your cousin.
well, he called me Dale.
Squirt.
Dale referred to me as his nephew-in-law. Is
that right?
what he referred to me as. Which
Then
there's no
he
such
liked you.
thing. But
If he picked on you, he liked you.
yeah, he picked on me a
Yeah.
lot. Matter of fact, the first Cup race I ran was at Michigan, and Dale and I started right close to each other. And that matter of fact, that picture on your thing is Dale telling me that, boy, this ain't no race truck. He's like, you ain't gonna be able to beat the fenders off this thing and be able to keep up. And that's exactly what he's telling me in that photo. And it wasn't 10 laps in a race. He comes by me and his left front fender's flapping. He's already hit something. And I'm thinking, I thought you told me I wasn't going to be able to tell the fender. And I think he ran pretty good that day. But
He's giving you an example of what it would be like.
exactly. Right.
Here it is. I'll put it on the screen there.
Yeah.
So,
and the
top
funny
right
thing
corner.
about it, like, I was a cocky, up and coming guy who had won truck races and had a deal to go Cup racing, and we go to a place like Michigan, and I think I'm really doing good, and I'm like, I'm gonna run the fence because that's where we need to be. We need to be right on the fence. So I'm running the top, and I go down in the one, and my spotter says outside, and I'm like, I did a double take, and it's like Earnhardt is between me and the wall. you know, and I'm running what I feel like is the wall, and I'm not. I was like, no, I'm not running the wall. He's running the wall, you know. I'm running a groove off the wall, you know. But I was, you know, it's neat that at least I got to race with him a handful of times, you know, and every time. I don't think there was ever a race that I ran against him that he didn't lay the bumper to me or turn me crossways or something, you know. But
just to let you know he's
just
there.
to let me know, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Did you ever have a chance to run against your dad? No.
We ran one truck race against each other. He ended up actually starting and parking a backup truck of mine, but not in a competitive. Well, no, I take that back. We did actually. We ran. My very first Busch race I ever ran was at IRP, and it was in a second car for my dad's team. And we ran together that night, but he ran really, really good, and I ran really, really bad. So we didn't get to see each other much on the racetrack that night. But
match race.
We got to run some legend cars together, and you know.
Your dad was really good at IRP.
Yes, he was.
He was really good.
IRP was
one of his favorite tracks.
That was one of his best tracks, and matter of fact, the second year that the Busch cars ever went to IRP, he won the race. You know, and always ran. He was always competitive there.
He even got under Dale's skin one night there.
Yeah, him and Dale crashed. Earnhardt was running the Busch race there one night and got into him, and they ended up crashing each other and broke a couple of my dad's ribs. And there was a few awkward Thanksgivings there for a couple of years, but they mended it all up later on.
Yeah, I think one of the Bodine brothers was collateral damage in that wreck.
Brett was. Mm-hmm.
Gene says, get Andy to tell you the story about him going to Maine with Tommy and falling asleep after the race. Oh, yeah.
Marty told this story.
He did, yes.
Yeah, Marty told this story. So anyway, we went to the Oxford 250, which was a one-day show, and you started like, you know, way early in the morning, and then we were leaving that night to leave the racetrack to go back to the hotel, and we got in traffic line leaving the track, and next thing we know, I was like, I'm in the passenger seat. Marty's driving. I kind of doze off, and you hear all these horns blowing, you know, and it's like I'm kind of half asleep, half awake, and you know, I wake up and I look out the windshield and there's not a car in sight, and we're like in the middle of the traffic line leaving the racetrack, and then I look up in the rearview mirror and it's like cars for days lined up behind us, and it was like one lane in, one lane out, and we had the whole road blocked up, and Marty and I were both asleep sitting there in traffic, and
yes.
We finally woke up. Marty said he threw that thing down and geared. Off we went to the hotel. We never looked back.
Hammer down.
Yep.
Scott Trevison, Beer Man, says, we were leaving the grandstand talking about Saturday night after the race, and the big screen TVs all said, "Thank you for coming. Please drive home safely." He said, "LOL, how ironic after that race."
That's right.
Gosh, man. That was a wild finish.
It was wild.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for coming in. I really enjoyed that.
Well, thanks for having us, for sure.
For having me.
And we'll see you next Monday. You can always come back every week. It's fine with me.
Perfect.
One of your family members or whoever. You know, so that's what I was telling Marty. I said, "You're always welcome to come," you know, but I think he's stayed away tonight and did just enough on the phone and
there you go.
Comment.
Andy can bring his grandson in someday. Be all right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That's right. All right. So y'all have a great evening. I don't know about my guest next week, but we'll figure that out as the week goes. Maybe we'll get maybe Steve Park. Maybe
I need to stop by and see him.
Yep. So
tomorrow, Honest Engine.
All right, Honest Engine. Phil's going to stop by and see him tomorrow. So we'll see if that works out for next week. So that'd be good. And so y'all have a great week. And don't forget to check out DHammiam.com. And then you get to all my social media on there. And also hit the thumbs up if you liked the show. And if you didn't like it, hit the thumbs up twice. Thank you very much. And all right, we'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Tune into the Billy Buck Morning Show with a side of ham. I'll be right here at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we'll see y'all then. Good night. Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm.
If you don't know our host, David Hamm, he's a 25-year NASCAR veteran, engine builder, and jackman.
Live every Monday evening, we have a new guest
from the racing world with their stories, their paths,
their racing roots. Sponsored by Jersey Cape Yachts.
Real Country 550 and 92.9 WAME Statesville.
If you've had an accident, what would you do next? We'll take your vehicle to Statesville Collision Center for fast, certified collision repair. They specialize in bodywork,